Yo, it's your boy D from the D, and I hope you ready to eat, because I got some meat for you. We about to get off into the nitty gritty. This is soul food. Food for your soul. We about to talk about these racial politics. This is the third installment. It's called The Proof is in the Policies. So we're going to watch this video. We about to get straight off into it, but before we watch this video, I want to drop this song that came out over 20 years ago. I'm sure everybody's not familiar with it, but those who know me should very well be familiar. But it's Filthy Paws, Reon Records. The name of the song is called My Misery. So check this out.
Standing in the rain, keeping it on my face as I pray to God to help me through these struggles that I'm suffering. Eradicate the pain and the problems that continue to mount. Lord, don't you see your son has had enough of them? I know you said that it won't be too much to bear, but these burdens got my knees buckling and my back snapped. My empty pockets got me fantasizing and hitting the slate with this mask up on my face and my palms trapped. Is there a way for me to find peace when I'm accompanied by misery and my soul finds no place to turn? I've learned I can't escape the fate I have, so when the flames come no longer draw, I just embrace the burn. Is this a test for me to pass? And if it is, I need some help, or am I cursed to just reap what a brother sow? I'm on the edge, hanging on to a thread of sanity. Lord, forgive me, but I think I'm about to let it go.
I can't deny it, but I'm sorry for this thinking nature. Forgive me, my creator, and those who had a hand in molding me, but look and don't see the man that I'm supposed to be. But this is me.
Plain visions of pain, victims become victims of violent crimes, inventions to bring fiddles to feeble minds, in need of nines and evil times to live my life. And even now I've been getting high to deal with stripes. I'm out of time, in pursuit of the pearly gates, been punished for worldly ways since the age of my early days. I'm hurt till I pray, in searching for better fate. I'm hoping that day is on its way, but getting still I can't wait. I gotta make it in the struggle, wanna bubble like them champagne bubbles, but broken glasses and filthy ashtrays. My troubles, seeing doubles, being drunken and tempted of devils. Them niggas frontin' turning the pumps when you bring in the shovel. If ever I'm to become successful to lead this ghetto, in spite of all of the dramas weighing down my people's souls. See, it's told, we treat it bold, but we must hold to the wisdom we own to seek control. Drive a narrow road.
I can't deny it, but I'm sorry. It was instinct and nature. Forgive me, my creator, and those who had a hand in molding me, but look and don't see the man that I'm supposed to be.
Pressure building up inside me, I can't find my mental. Try to allow my heart to guide me, why life can't be simple. The biblical father form is in my temple, yet I've been through hell, coincident to incidents, and got me in you. And every incidental tale I tell, I slipped and fell. Jacking niggas, jail cell, still ain't got no mail. But influential peers got me into what I'm into. Had me sipping beer, fading in like a blender. But when I faded out, I knew that I had to be kin to niggas that'll drench you and dry you in a rinse do. Have you limping like pimps do, just from the mash, and how you swimming like the fish do if it come down to blast. And I'm asking, who do you run to when situations sadden? Who do you think gon' come to your rescue and stop the madness? If you a bastard and pops ain't holding you none, when it's hard to try and have some fun, when you ain't got them everlasting funds, you don't wanna grab the mask and gun, you just wanna lead a pass and run with the gun to the pasture and blast your one. Act the pass to the prey, take the passive one.
Oh, I can't deny, but I'm sorry. It was instinct and nature. Forgive me, my creator, and those who had a hand in molding me, but look and don't see the man that I'm supposed to be. But this is me. Forgive me.
Yeah. Told you. That's a hot one. It speaks truth to what we about to get into. Excuse me. Your boy been sipping on that tea so he can have his voice right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching, for supporting. I pray that you subscribe and like and let your people know about it. I'm working on a live stream right now. This one is pre-recorded, but I'm going to be doing the live stream real soon. Just getting my practice in. I still have a lot of little technical issues here and there that I need to tweak. But it's going to be beautiful. Hopefully, by the grace of the Most High. And by the way, I want to say thank you, Abba Father, for waking me up today and giving me a chance to make your way my way. You know, I try to find myself inside his words. That way I know I'm living. Was trying to exist outside his words. It's like instant death, man. But yeah, we about to get off into the third installment of Racial Politics. I made these series. I talk about this stuff for people that don't talk about it or feel uncomfortable talking about it because they don't know about it, but they know something wrong. And they just want to try to figure out what's going on. What is wrong? What is wrong? So I used to be like that myself. You know, I was willfully ignorant. Ran the streets. Didn't want to hear about this type of stuff at the time because all I thought, I thought I was going to be a big time rapper. You know, I had my head in the clouds and literally in the clouds because I was doing my share of smoking too, that greeny green. But now, over the last 20 years has been a sobering thing because the first 20 years of programming really messed me up. And I've been trying to detach myself from the fantasy because it's not reality. You know what I'm saying? I've been living in reality, trying to focus on what is real, and I'm sure you have too. And a lot of us still do with all the fake stuff that's going on out here. You got fake women looking for real men. And you got, I guess you got fake men lying to real women, But you can't be real when everything about you is fake. Your hair, your nails, your body parts. I can go on and on, Men with all these fake muscles, taking all them steroids and all this stuff, and everybody eating the wrong type of food, We eating because it tastes good, but not because it is good. Like I said, it's sad, man. It's sad. We living in a terrible state of mind. And it's time to focus and get back to what's real and what matters. And that's the reason why we out here being destroyed, because our enemies have laid a trap for us, And it ain't just one enemy. We have multiple enemies. We have spiritual enemies, and we have physical enemies, And they have laid traps, and we've been catching it. We've been dying, falling off this earth, falling asleep, and at an alarming rate. And we've been doing a lot of damage to ourselves. So we helping the enemy. We need to figure out whose side we on, as my little cousin would say. So this is the installment I was talking about. We're going to get right off into it. I appreciate everybody, like I said, tuning in. And if you know somebody that may benefit from this information that I'm putting out, just tell them to check it out. It's like, you know, I try to make it to where you could call in the future and we can just kick it. We can talk about anything, you know, and we just want to be able to make some sense of things. You know, we don't talk about nonsensical stuff. I don't really care about the Hollywood and the politics of the game and all that stuff, you know. But we can touch on it, but we ain't about to get deep off into it. You know what I mean? Because that's really unnecessary. So like I said, let's get off into this video and let's do it, baby. Check it out. Check it out.
It seems we never get to touch the topic on how to profit from the logical use.
Hello there, everyone. This is Robert from Reading Through History. So without further ado, we're going to go through my state's objectives. And we're starting here with number 1A. It says, examine the purposes and effects of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. That may sound like quite a lot, but really all you have to do to remember this is the simple phrase, free citizens vote. That's all you have to do. Because the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are in order. 13, 14, 15. Remember this little catchy phrase, free citizens vote, and you got it. Free citizens vote, free citizens vote. The one in the middle is hands in his pocket, free citizens vote. Check out this hat, looking like he's there in style to vote. 13th Amendment is going to free the slaves. The 14th Amendment is going to give anyone in the United States, born in the United States, citizenship. And the 15th Amendment is going to give free black men the right to vote. Or at least that's what these amendments were supposed to do. That's where you get to the effective part. 13th Amendment, very simple. It says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Now this one was effective in getting rid of the institution that was called slavery, which we're going to see in later installments, things such as sharecropping and Jim Crow laws and stuff like that's going to pop up. But this says you cannot be a slave in the United States of America or any of its territories unless you're convicted of a crime. You can still have the chain gangs and stuff like that, but slavery will be done. So this is going to formally abolish slavery in the United States of America. That era, those days are gone. This was passed by Congress on January the 31st, 1865, but of course, the states still had to ratify it. But Abraham Lincoln, the last year of his presidency, spent a great deal of time, effort, and energy trying to get this amendment in some form or another passed. It's going to be ratified by the states on December the 6th, 1865. I believe the state of Georgia, the former Confederate slave state of Georgia, was the one that gave it enough votes for it to become law. Now on to the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, outside of the Bill of Rights, may very well be the most important amendment in the United States Constitution. Obviously, if you're a woman and you like voting, you may say, no, giving women the right to vote was a big deal. But the 14th Amendment is a huge deal. Now, they passed this one out of fears of civil rights of the newly freed slaves, known as the freedmen, being overturned by the southern governments. It states that all people born in the United States of America are citizens. So if you're born here on U.S. soil, you're granted citizenship. Now, this causes issues later on in history, but that's not really what we're dealing with here. This was passed to force these southern states to grant citizenship to the newly freed slaves. And this amendment was going to give equal protection of the laws to all American citizens. In other words, a state cannot take rights away or deny rights to any citizen. And if the newly freed slaves are citizens, they have to be treated equally, under the law. No freedom can be taken away without what will be called due process of law. So, states cannot deprive a person of their life, liberty, or property without that due process of law. As I said, this due process thing is very, very important. Now, what's that mean? You have to be accused of a crime, have to get a warrant, they have to put you on trial, and a jury of your peers has to convict you before you can be, deprived of any of these things, life, liberty, or property. This also banned many rebel officers from holding state and federal offices. Now, why did they do this? Well, remember, Lincoln gets assassinated. Andrew Johnson, former slave owner from Tennessee, who was a Democrat, who stayed loyal to the Union, he gets to be president. And he wanted Reconstruction over with really quickly. So he just kind of, in the year after the Civil War, he starts saying, well, everything's good, let's let them all back in. And the Republicans in Congress were shocked when the southern states held elections and all these former Confederates and former, rebel officers start showing up in, Washington, D.C. Hey, I'm a senator from Georgia, like Alexander Stephens, the former vice president of the Confederacy. And the Republicans said, no way, this isn't over with. They're electing the same leaders. We're going to have the same problems. So they refused to allow those guys to take their seats, and they said, we're taking over Reconstruction, baby. So state laws were subject to federal court review. Now, this is very important. This is part of that through line of history where the federal power and state power are always colliding. They knew that these southern states would likely try and pass all kinds of laws, which they do, to keep black men from voting, to try and keep the freedmen from having their newfound freedoms fully fulfilled. And there are all kinds of these laws in the South that we'll get to in later videos. But if the state passes a law that deprives someone of their rights, or some group, the federal government can review it. And we're going to see plenty of that to come. It also gave Congress the power to pass any laws needed to enforce it. Now, these two items here, 100 years after the fact, are really going to start coming into play, because we're not just talking about the freedmen here. We're talking about things in the Bill of Rights. These used to not really be understood as applying to the state governments. The state, do they have to give you a trial, jury? Do they have to give you a lawyer? 100 years after these amendments were passed, states weren't honoring this. And you're going to see it with the Warren Court, a lot with the rights of criminals, the rights of the accused, the rights of handicapped people. Are you denying them a right to an education if the school buildings do not, if they're not handicap accessible? So this amendment's really important, not just because of what they did at the time with the rights of the newly freed slaves, but the rights of many more Americans, 100 years later. The 15th Amendment. This is the one that gave black men the right to vote. Notice it says men. If you look at the wording of this amendment, it does not mention women. Women are not going to get the right to vote till 1920. But this said they could not deny you the right to vote on the basis of race or previous condition of servitude. Now, this one's going to take effect in 1870. It's not going to be very effective for the next 95 years because of what we're going to talk about in future videos. I'm talking the grandfather clause, the poll tax, and the literacy test. That's not denying someone the right to vote on the basis of race. That's just making a literacy test that's almost impossible for someone to pass. You can just say, oh, well, you failed. Or, remember, a lot of these newly freed slaves were uneducated, so they couldn't read. So, this one is not going to be very effective. They're going to have to pass a congressional law, a federal law, in 1965 known as the Voting Rights Act of 1965 before African Americans' right to vote is really and truly protected in the United States of America. But that's it. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Just remember, free citizens vote. 13, 14, 15. Free citizens vote. Okay, everyone, this here's your friendly history teacher, and I'm back with another episode of Everything You Need to Know. And in this episode, we will be discussing black codes, Jim Crow, and the Ku Klux Klan. The first thing you need to know is what exactly was black codes. Now, black codes were these laws that were passed in the 1860s in the early days of Reconstruction, when white Southerners still had some control over local politics. This would have been Andrew Johnson's Reconstruction era. And these laws were basically Southern laws that were aimed at limiting the rights of the newly freed slaves. You can kind of compare these to the slave codes of the pre-Civil War era. The basic design of these was just, hey, we're going to return the African Americans, the freedmen, to as close to slave-like conditions as we possibly can. Now, Congress, when they hear reports of how bad things are in these southern states, they're going to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and the 14th Amendment. Now, the Civil Rights Act is going to be vetoed by Andrew Johnson. In the last video, we talked about how he was a Southern Democrat from Tennessee, former slave owner, just happened to side with the Union and get, chosen by Lincoln to be his VP candidate in the election of 1864 to kind of give Lincoln that extra cushion he needed to win, grab some Democrat votes. Johnson wanted Reconstruction to be over quickly, just as smooth and easy as could possibly be. And he's going to veto the Civil Rights Act and the Freedmen's Bureau bill, to aid the newly freed slaves. And it's going to be overturned by Congress. They're going to be like, no, buddy, we're taking over Reconstruction. Now, Jim Crow laws are what are effectively going to come in toward the end of Reconstruction and really start taking hold in the late 1870s, 1880s. These kind of replace the black code. So it kind of goes slave codes, which were in effect, in the southern states when they were when slavery still existed, to the black codes to try and limit, where African Americans could go. That's kind of what those laws were, trying to keep them in slave-like conditions. And when Reconstruction ends, we're going to get these things called Jim Crow laws. Now, the name comes from an old popular song, that ends with the phrase, "Jump Jim Crow." And there's usually an African-American character, in the script music that went with this song. So they just kind of apply it to these laws. Now, what these are racial segregation laws. These are laws that are aimed at creating two completely different societies in these southern states, a black society and a white society. So you're going to have separate drinking fountains. You're going to have separate waiting rooms. When it comes to transportation, there will be a black railroad car, a white railroad car. Schools will be segregated. This school's for black students. This one's for white students. Even parks. A lot of these states even had laws, in barber shops and things like that. Doctors, it was illegal for an African American doctor in some states to treat a white patient. Now, these laws are going to be challenged in a Supreme Court case known as Plessy versus Ferguson. This comes along in 1896. This was the first real legitimate challenge to these laws that make it all the way to the Supreme Court. And here in 1896, the Supreme Court has a chance to strike these laws down. But sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. In this case, this was a planned, what they did is they sent a person who I believe was 1/8 or 1/16. He had very little, African American blood, but they kind of set it up where he would go on this railroad car, and they had someone there who would challenge him, and he would refuse to obey. He would be arrested, and that way they could challenge the law in Louisiana for separate railroad cars. Well, they got what they wanted. It went all the way to the Supreme Court,
But in this case, the Supreme Court actually said, well, these laws are actually legal. They said it's perfectly fine to have a black railroad car and a white railroad car for passengers, so long as the facilities are separate but equal. So in other words, if you're serving both sides and you're providing them accommodations, this is perfectly okay. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about at all. So this set up this thing called separate but equal. This gives these southern states, and it's not just happening in the South, but this is where most of the African American population was. But you see these laws in other parts of the country as well. Separate but equal. So long as we're providing equal accommodations to both sides, it's just fine. So this legitimized all of the Jim Crow laws, and it kind of entrenched them for nearly the next 60 years. It's not going to be till the 1950s in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, that they are going to overturn these laws. That's how long it's going to take. Now, you always wonder if the Supreme Court had overturned these laws in 1896, and what would the country be like today? We just never really know. Now, the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan kind of comes out of the post-Civil War environment. A lot of white Southerners were very frustrated by obviously the losing the war. 1 in 3 white Southern men are killed or seriously maimed. The loss of political power once the radical Republicans, the ones who take control and seize it from Andrew Johnson, when they essentially make him a lame duck president and then, vote to impeach him, and he's nearly removed by 1 vote. This guy is completely just sitting there doing nothing. Congress starts running the country by themselves, and they start implementing what Southerners would, by our standard today, call a draconian system of Reconstruction, where they put it under military control, and they start using the newly freed African males as a voting bloc for the Republicans to have power. Lots of white Southerners could not vote. There are all kinds of laws passed stripping them of their political power. So the radical Republicans are the ones running the Southern politics. So a lot of white Southerners were very angry. Some of them started forming vigilante groups to try and, in their opinion, restore order. So some of them are going to use various, but the ones that get all the attention, there are other groups like the Knights of the White Chameleon, but the Ku Klux Klan, they're the one that gets all the press. And the Ku Klux Klan and other groups are going to try to restore order, which would mean giving white Southern men control of Southern politics again. Now, the Ku Klux Klan is founded on Christmas Eve, 1865, in the town of Pulaski, Tennessee. And it kind of starts out as a social club of only like 6 people. But eventually it is going to grow into an entire, what you would call the invisible empire or invisible organization across the South that is going to try and end radical Republican rule. So the Klan tactics that they're going to use, their number one goal is to restore white Southern order. And if the African Americans are the major voting bloc of the Republican Party in the South, they're going to use violence and intimidation to try and keep, black Southerners from voting. They want to end what is called carpetbag rule. Now, carpetbaggers were white Northerners who kind of threw, the name comes from, they were running into the post-war South, all the destruction and all the political, vacuum that's taken place to try and get rich and powerful. So they throw some possessions in a carpetbag, and they're going to run down there to the South and try and seize power. So that's where the name comes from. So you got carpetbaggers. These were Northerners who ran into the South to try and establish some kind of rule down there. And you've got the scallywags. These would be your white Southerners who sided with the radical Republicans. And, of course, the African American voting bloc would be huge in this as well. So the Klan, they're going to use violence, intimidation. It was always worse around, voting time than any other. They'd burn the crosses in the yard, use threats. Here we see in this picture, bust the door open, fire a few shots inside the house to scare them. And of course the Klan always claimed to be the ghost of, dead Confederate soldiers coming to restore order. So they're wanting to weaken Republican control of Southern politics by any means necessary. It's estimated that they might have killed up to 20,000 people. We don't really know. It's not like the Klan kept records. And it's not like everyone who donned a white hood and went out and murdered someone was actually in the Klan. I mean, it kind of became chaos down there. If you had a vendetta or something, you could throw on the hood and go out and murder someone, and of course the Klan would get the blame. Now we know the Klan did kill lots and lots of people. There were some counties in Florida where the number of people they lynched was just absolutely terrifying. So the radical Republicans in Congress are going to try and do something to weaken the Ku Klux Klan. So they passed these things called the Enforcement Acts in 1870 and 1871 to try and weaken the Klan. These laws allowed for federal elections to be supervised either by Union, U.S. troops or other various means. And they could use these federal troops to actually fight the Klan if they had to. So these had some mixed results. But the problem is, as the 1870s wore on, they're just getting sick of Reconstruction, both Northerners and Southerners. And in 1872, Congress is going to pass the Amnesty Act. Now, as far as bringing the country closer together and ending Reconstruction, this would be a step forward. But for the African Americans, this would not be a good thing because the Amnesty Act is going to give about 150,000 former Confederates the right to vote. You couple this with the Klan and other actions trying to keep blacks from voting, you can see white Southerners are slowly going to start regaining control. They also allowed the Freedmen's Bureau to expire. Now this was a federal agency that was ran through the United States Army to try and educate and protect the newly freed slaves, help them get jobs, and assure that they were getting treated fairly when it came to jobs and pay. Now, the Freedmen's Bureau did a lot of good down there. It was mainly white Northerners who came down to set up and run these schools because you had millions of newly freed slaves who could not read, could not write, and there was really no means of protecting them or providing them with jobs or, getting these slaves to be treated fairly by the white Southerners was a huge problem. So the Freedmen's Bureau was there to do this. And the Freedmen's Bureau is going to expire, and that's going to create serious problems. But eventually the white Southerners regained control of politics. Because what happened as Reconstruction came to an end, we had this thing called the Compromise of 1877. And in the Compromise of 1877, the Democrats, who may very well have won the presidential election of 1876, with their candidate Samuel Tilden, made an agreement with the Republican candidate Rutherford B. Hayes. He said, if you allow me to be President of the United States, I will end Reconstruction. I will get the federal troops out of there, and all you Southern Democrats have to do is promise you will protect the freedoms and liberties and privileges of the African American population. And of course, the Southern Democrats were like, oh yes, we promise. We'll be good boys. Now, because of the 15th Amendment, they could not deny someone the right to vote on the basis of race. We know that. That's what the 15th Amendment said. So they very cleverly found other ways to keep the African American from voting. And this is the topic of this mini lesson. So this one will be called Obstacles to Voting. So this is the stuff you need to know. Prepare yourself accordingly. The first one is the poll tax. The poll tax is exactly what it sounds like. It very simply is a fee for voting. You have to pay it in advance. You have to have some sort of a receipt or ticket that proves that you've paid this poll tax and you can go vote. Now this, of course, at the very surface is disenfranchisement. You're basically making it very difficult for people to vote. Now this wouldn't just be African Americans. poor whites would have a very difficult time paying this tax. Because if you're a sharecropper, you have almost no money or wealth, and it comes down to feeding yourself and your children or voting, people are going to choose taking care of their family over voting. So voting is today seen as a basic privilege that all law-abiding citizens should have. Wasn't so in the latter part of the 19th century and even well into the 20th century. If you were poor, this was a big-time block in the way of actually voting. And you think about voter turnout today and how poor it is, just imagine if you had to pay to vote. This is a way of, keeping the rich people in power. So this will eventually be abolished by the 24th Amendment to the United States Constitution that outlawed the poll tax, at least in federal elections. Now, the way I read and understand this is you could still do this in local and state elections, where there were no federal offices up for grabs, and this would be another way of keeping African Americans out of state and local politics. But 24th Amendment got rid of it. But look at the date, 1964. This is 99 years after the end of the Civil War. So this went on for an incredibly long time. The second way they kept African Americans from voting, literacy test. Now, this is exactly what it sounds like again. You have to pass a test demonstrating literacy before you can vote. Now, on the surface, this makes sense because you don't want people who can't read the ballot or understand, laws that are up for the vote if you cannot, demonstrate literacy. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's not exactly what these things were designed to do. These were very explicitly designed in a lot of cases to keep African Americans from voting. Not that all the African Americans were illiterate. As you'll see here, there were other ways you could stop them from passing this test. First and foremost, they could have two different versions of the test. One of them is way more difficult than the other. The difficult one, you give it to the African Americans. Quite often it was a very dull piece or very complicated piece of some federal document like the U.S. Constitution or something, and you would have to read it and then demonstrate that you understood what it said. Some tests, because there were no federal regulations on this, if you don't want a certain segment of the population voting, it didn't say you had to give them this test in English. They could literally throw it in French or German or Swahili or whatever language they wanted and throw it out there. And of course, if you could not speak the language, would fail. Or if all else failed, you could just say, oh, you didn't pass. You could recite this back and explain it perfectly, and the person administering the test could still say, oh no, I'm sorry, you failed. So this was a great way that they used to keep African Americans from voting. I mean, it was very effective. Not great in the sense that we're keeping people from voting, but it was great in the white supremacist view of, oh, we can just fail whoever we want to. And that's exactly what they did in a lot of cases. Now, as you can see, both of these things I described, the literacy test and the poll tax, could keep whites from voting. So they had to think of a clever way around this, and the clever way around it was the grandfather clause. Now, in the case of the grandfather clause, if you wanted the poor, illiterate, white Southerners to vote, because, they'd vote Democrat, most cases, you could bring them in. It's called grandfathering them in. Now, a lot of states use these, and specifically what it said was if you or your father or your grandfather could have voted on January the 1st, 1864, you can vote. Now, they even did this with the poll tax in some places. If your grandfather or father or you could vote on this date, you do not have to, pay this tax. So the date they usually used was January the 1st, 1867. Now that date is very important because the freed slaves could not vote yet at that time. So if you're throwing out January the 1st, 1867, all these poor, illiterate whites can get in because their, ancestors, their parents, grandparents could vote on this date. And these grandfather clauses stayed in effect for a very long time as a way around these various laws. So since the African Americans could not vote on January the 1st, 1867, they couldn't vote. Now, these laws are going to stay in place, particularly the literacy test and the poll tax, for nearly 100 years. So I already told you how they got rid of the poll tax. They just passed a constitutional amendment. Well, what about the literacy test? Well, Lyndon Baines Johnson during the 1960s supported strongly for a Voting Rights Act. And that Voting Rights Act is going to come into effect in 1965. This eliminated the literacy test. So the literacy test is no longer valid. We're taking it and we're throwing that bad boy out. So no more literacy tests. Now a lot of people say this law didn't go far enough. And we're still fighting this battle today with voter ID cards and stuff like that. But the literacy test, no longer valid. And it also said federal officials could register people to vote. Now this is very important because a lot of places were still finding ways to prevent African Americans from voting. So in this case you could go to federal officials and they could register you to vote in all elections in your precinct. And just to show you how effective this was, before this law was passed in 1964 in Selma, Alabama, a town with a very high percentage of African Americans, only around 10% of the black residents in Selma, Alabama were registered to vote. Just 4 years later, in 1968, 60% of African American voters eligible voters in Selma, Alabama could vote. So this was a very, very, very effective law. So that tells you everything you need to know about these three things: the literacy test, the grandfather clause, and the poll tax, and how they got rid of them.
Silly ass nigga, for real. Yeah, y'all niggas don't grow up, son. Need to be doing something.
Niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change, but niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change, but niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change, but niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change, but niggas still waiting. It seems you never get to touch the topic on how to profit from the logical use of time, so we can't stop it. Niggas is rock, others on the run. From the burst of the gun, my niggas spending his life in the slum. What you niggas wrong? A highly violent society where robbing sprees and niggas copping keys after coppers bleed and copping keys. Obviously, we reaping what we sow, planting seeds in niggas' hearts with concrete that ain't gon' grow. And I know it ain't no hope in the ghetto when you living in the hellhole and grow seed. That ain't no joke. So some focus on what they hope is the move, hoping to move. These niggas never get in the mood, get lost in the groove of things. Most niggas can't hang with the change once they get out the tank. Get back in the bank, and you think that they would maintain, remain sane, but with that number it's a hard thing. They can't. Niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change. The niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change. The niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change. The niggas still waiting. I said these niggas got no motivation, hoping patiently one day the shit'll change. Niggas still.
Yeah. Yeah. See what we've been going through for the last 100 years, at least. It's crazy, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. And the same thing is still going on to this day. Now, how long we plan on fighting this one fight? There's no finish. It's like no finishing move. You know, we got to realize that we are at war with people that has chosen to wage war against us. We have enemies. Like I said, spiritual and natural. This is crazy. a lot of the language, did you listen to a lot of the language in there? It's still being spoken to this day. We got to stop this fight, man. On this end, I mean, this got to be over with. This part got to be over with. We can't keep going through this with these folks. So you know what we got to do? We must stay out of jail, okay, for ridiculous crimes. And we must keep our heads in the Bible and our minds on our business. And we got to vote. We got to vote. We got to vote all the time, every time. Now I see why they say it's our duty. See, I didn't understand these things back in the day. See, it's like I said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's not what you hear, it's how you hear it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not what you see, it's how you look at it. That makes all the difference in the world. It's called paradigm. And I'm trying to get y'all to see from this point of view that right now, this is called the war report. This is what I'm giving you right now is the war report. We are at war. These folks have waged war against us for over 400, going on 500 years. And they have kept us in a place and do everything they can to keep us in that place. And we must do everything we can to get us out of that place, because all we doing is becoming more complacent. We let them tell us what we can and cannot do. You understand what I'm saying? They use violence to stop us in our tracks. They took away our real leaders. I hate to say it, but everybody that claim themselves to be a black leader today, I really don't see it. All they doing is the blind leading the blind. They getting paid to lead you off a cliff because they ain't did nothing for us. I can't think of nothing. Even the former president of the United States couldn't do nothing for us. But he was able to do something for other people. But he ain't really do nothing for us that we needed. Only thing it did when Obama came in office is showed this enemy showed his ugly head again. They became so upset, and they worried about their country, their so-called country, being taken from them. This is not their country. They took it from somebody else. This is a business. The United States is a business, and it's being ran like a business. And therefore, these policies have kept us in a place. It's legal to do us like that. And just because it's legal don't mean it's right. A lot of this stuff has no moral values. No moral values. For a lot of y'all, I bet y'all don't even know that a corporation is considered a person. A corporation can have more rights than an actual individual that's living and breathing. Did you know that? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I just need y'all to understand that we got to vote. See, the people with the money, they're using the poor to do their dirty work. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ignorant people on the enemy's side, and they are threatened by your success. They're not as smart as you think they are. You know, they just privileged to information because they share information. They look out for each other. You understand what I'm saying? And they agree to disagree, but they will agree at the end of the day, whether they like it or not. And I don't want you to think that everybody that's your enemy is of a different color. You got some enemies that's the same color. You understand what I'm saying? And you got some allies that's of a different color. But it's people with certain agendas, and have taken allegiance to other people that have a terrible agenda against you and your people. Okay? It says it in the Bible. It say, come, let us destroy them from being a nation. From being a nation, y'all. If we not, I mean, we don't have no place to go. We all over the world. We don't have no place to call home where we can go home. We are a stranger in every land as far as they're concerned. You understand what I'm saying? So I need y'all to pay attention to what is being said. We must vote. We must vote. I worked at the election, counting the votes this time. I really got involved, and I learned a lot. And it's just mandatory. But I learned this stuff over the last few months, man. Just watching everything that's been going on. Your boy 45, he been on the news every day, doing something ridiculous, saying something ridiculous. And that's what I'm saying about Obama. They want their country back, and that's what Trump been leading them off with. I'm gonna get you your country back. You understand what I'm saying? By any means necessary. And that's the reason why you've been having all these white supremacists, demonstrations, the insurrection at the Capitol, all that. And like I said, these folks are at war. That's why they wear the camouflage. They fly that flag. Did you hear him when he said it? What he said about that flag? He said, I can't think of what it's. He said something about the flag, about the Confederate flag. And he said something about the Ku Klux Klan trying to restore order. Okay, they dead Confederate soldiers coming back to restore order. So when you see that flag at a nation's capital or a state's capital and all that stuff, or just flying in front of somebody's house, you know what that means. You know where they at with it. They are against you. They, for whatever reason, they done convinced themselves they are against you, and they afraid of your success. They do not want you to succeed as a people, let alone a person. They do not want you to succeed, and it's sad. They feel threatened by your success, and that's why every time we get a little something, they trying to find a way to get it taken away. Every time we find out what's the loophole, they change the law. You understand what I'm saying? So we must stick together. We have to stop trying to integrate. We are already integrated, okay? What we need to do is have our own community, support our own community, because we support everybody else's community. Everybody can come in our community, and we will support them. But it's hard for us to support each other, and we need to be invested in each other's success. We are not invested in each other's success. We find ways to hate on each other for simple, stupid, childish stuff, petty stuff. That ain't what the Most High is about. And if you're a child of the Most High, baby, you got to wake up. You got to get up. You got to, stop all this sleepwalking. You keep sleepwalking. While you alive, you're going to wake up dead, and it's going to be too late. It's crazy. It's so crazy. You got to pay attention to what's going on. And we must unite. We must unite at all costs. We must clean up our neighborhoods. Get all this trash out the way. Got to get all this trash out the way. This is our neighborhood. And you got people that you spend money with in your neighborhood that's not from your neighborhood, right? But you go to their neighborhood, if you can find where they live, okay, it ain't no trash everywhere. But they own the stores, they own the gas stations in our neighborhood, and when you go to their stores and their gas station, the inside of the store and the gas station is clean. But you go right outside that store gas station, it's trash damn near everywhere. in most of these stores, okay, and gas stations. They do not even pay nobody to clean up around there, and most of that trash is from them. It comes from right out the store. People walk right out the store, open up something, throw the trash down. When we should stop that. And then you got these ignorant people that like to pull on people blocks and throw out a whole bag of Coney Island or a whole bag of McDonald's or something in the middle of the street. Come on, man. Come on. That is crazy. If that is not your neighborhood and that's not your street, then damn it, it's your city. And if it's not your city, it's your state. And if it's not your state, it's your country. And if it's not your country, baby, it's our world. Who wants to live in a trashy world? Why do y'all keep doing just stupid stuff, man? Just stupid. It's going to kill you to throw away the trash at the gas station. You know what I'm saying? It's going to kill you to throw away the trash. Just pull over. They got public trash cans out here. Just pull over and throw it out. But no, you got to keep your inside of your car looking clean. Everybody can't see the inside of your car, but everybody can look outside on your block and see all that trash in the middle of the damn street. Dumbass. Man, that pisses me off. Oh, and you got a lot of these kids keep flying up and down people's streets with these hot rods and stuff. Like, I mean, they don't even know how to drive, and they driving crazy, killing each other and killing people. You know, Chrysler really did a number, you know, but that's all. It was all planned. It was all planned. I'm telling you that right now. So this was proof in the, you know, proof is in the policies. The last one I did is called the Racial Wars Policy, and the first one I did is called the United States Divided Us. And all of this is about the policies of the United States to keep black men and women separated and the children separated and to keep us down, okay? They will not let us or allow us to prosper. But the funny thing about all of this is that they stuff cannot work if we do not cooperate. If we continue to cooperate with the way things are, we will never get nowhere. We will find ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper in a place, in a sunken place, as that movie says. And I want to say another thing about Donald Trump and his boy Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, he put all them policies out in New York, stop and frisk, getting all the brothers and sisters stopped and locked up. It's a thing. Once they start creating, you know, a paper trail on you, they can keep you stuck in the system, okay, over little stuff, marijuana, whatever. Once they can create that paper trail, you stuck in the system, and you're going to keep feeding the system, okay? But like I said, it was a movie that came out about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. It's called When They See Us. And in that movie, based on a true story, 5 guys supposedly raped some white woman in, I think, Central Park or something like that. But it wasn't the 5 black guys that they picked up and locked up for, you know, I forgot how long these dudes was locked up, but they was locked up for a long time. And Donald Trump at that time was trying to advocate for the death penalty for these 5 young men who ended up being innocent, proven innocent. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the type of, and he wanted to pay for it and all this stuff. I mean, this is the type of stuff that we are dealing with. These people do not like us. And then you have racist officers. Did you hear him say that, you know, they started putting federal officers and stuff in place to try to deter what was happening to the black voters or the black people, the black population. So these guys are at war. They strategically joined the force that was meant to keep us, you know, safe. They joined the force that was meant to keep us safe. What's the first thing you say? They're supposed to protect and serve. They do not protect. They protect and serve themselves. You supposed to, this is a hero's job. This is a hero's job. When you sign up to be a police officer, you signing up to be a hero, okay? You want to save people's lives, but instead, what's the first thing they say? First thing they say is that I feared for my life against an unarmed black man. I feared for my life. You understand what I'm saying? But they can walk around plenty of white men that's armed and not fear for their lives. Okay? But an unarmed black man, they feared for their life. Man, one more dude come up with that, you are a punk. Get out of that job. If you signed up to do desk work, then that's what you need to do. You don't need to be out in the field with the people because all you doing is looking for a way to kill the people. And somebody done taught you that way. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying this is a hero's job. Back in the day, you had to be a hero to sign up for jobs like that. Now you can be a punk and just say you fear for your life. And I'm not taking, what can I say? I'm not taking nothing away from real police officers that choose to do their duty and do it right. You know what I'm saying? But these ones that just, you know, and then they approach you with an attitude. You know, they approach you with an attitude, then you eventually get an attitude. Now you are a problem. You was a problem before you even caught the attitude because they messing with you. You understand what I'm saying? So it don't even pay to get upset with them because they gonna win. They gonna win. You understand what I'm saying? You might get one or two of them, you know, in a bad place, but I'm just saying, for the most part, it ain't even worth it though still. You know what I'm saying? If you free, continue to be free. But like I said, this is the stuff that's going on. This is the stuff we must stop. And we got here because they done taught us to be willfully ignorant and to be okay with the way things are. And the only time we act up is when one of them is televised for killing one of us. And then we burn up our neighborhoods. Nope, what we should do is stop burning up our neighborhoods and protect ourselves. If you're going to burn up a neighborhood, go out to their neighborhoods in droves and burn, just like they took over the White House, you know what the Capitol, go out there in droves and burn up their neighborhood. They only got like 10 cops in the whole vicinity. You understand what I'm saying? In a whole little city or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If that's what they want to do. You know what I mean? Quit burning our stuff up. Burn their stuff up. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that's the way to really do things, but I'm just saying we must stop participating in the illegal proceedings that's taking place. And that's why I brought it to you from a legal stance, because the thing is that if we don't deal with this from a legal point of view, we're going to continue to get locked up and not be able to do anything about it. You heard what it said about the 13th Amendment. Slavery is illegal unless you become a prisoner. Then it's legal. So they never got rid of slavery. They just changed it the way they do it. And who do they go after the most? Us. Who do they give the stiffest sentences to? Us. So is slavery really gone? Because I know a whole bunch of brothers that's locked up for life. You understand what I'm saying? I know a whole bunch of brothers that's dead from guns that they didn't have, from guns that they didn't even create, from an economic situation that they did not create, from inopportunities, not having the opportunity to do better. You understand what I'm saying? Lacking the supplies and things it takes to better themselves. But you heard in early installments how they gave these folks so much stuff. And then when they want to give us stuff, or when they try to give us stuff, then it comes with conditions. You know, you got to take the man out of the house. You got to do this and this and that and the other. No, We got to stop depending on them. We got to build our own stores. We got to have our own farms. And we got to be, we got to do business with them, okay? But we got to start putting us first. Ain't that what Trump said? He going to put America first. And what he meant by that, he meant white supremacists, rich white supremacists. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to love ourselves enough to put Yahuwah first, his son, and us. We got to put our women, our children first. Women, you got to put your man first. You understand what I'm saying? Right after the Most High, put him first. First one that fill that slot after the Messiah. You understand what I'm saying? So let's quit the games. Let's quit playing around. How long you gonna continue to be a nigga? How long you gonna continue to be a real nigga? You understand what I'm saying? This, we've been dealing with this one issue about voting, and that lets you know how much power is in your vote. I used to think it wasn't no power in voting. I used to think that too. They taught us well. They taught us well. You understand what I'm saying? Because they got us going against the very things and not believing in the very things that could save our lives, just like they got us not believing in God. You understand what I'm saying? But yet and still they at church every day. Every Sunday they at church. You understand what I'm saying? Just like they got a lot of people out here scared to take the vaccine, but who is in line for the vaccine? Who taking all the vaccines? They talking about millions of people done received the vaccine. I don't hardly know no black people that took the vaccine, so where's all these millions of people at? But they keep scaring you, and you keep believing their stories. You understand what I'm saying? They lie about everything. The enemy lies about everything. And I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about the white supremacists, the ones that are strategically feeding you false information and doing things behind your back, throwing the rock and hiding their hand. And some of them are blatant with it. Some of them letting you know straight up what time it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm tired of people saying, I'm glad they letting me know. You know, I'm good. It's good to know. You understand what I'm saying? But my thing is that that's just all around ignorance what they doing. You understand? So I'm unhappy with it. I'm unhappy with it. The fact that they feel that way and the fact that they showing out that they feel that way. You know, that's something that you need to be praying about and dealing with. So I'm not trying to take up too much of your time. I just wanted y'all to get this information, but I wanted y'all to see how history is repeating itself over and over again with this voting situation, because they talking about voter ID now. They're trying to figure out ways to keep us from voting again, and they already preparing for their victory. So you need to deal them that defeat again by keeping the vote alive in your neighborhood and keep informing each other. Stay out of jail so you can vote. Quit letting each other go to jail. Quit encouraging each other to do crimes. Encourage each other to work together and make something successful so everybody can eat. If nothing else, everybody can eat. You keep chasing after these other people's dreams. You know, you want the Bentley. Who made the Bentley? You want the Rolls Royce. Who made the Rolls Royce? Somebody's idea. Create your own idea and go after that. You understand what I'm saying? You're not going to get rich off of making somebody else rich. And you're not going to really be admired. You're just going to be considered a rich nigga. You know what I'm saying? To them. But if you helping your people and you doing stuff for your people and you know, y'all working together and you feeding miles, baby, you a king. And that's what it's time. It's time to stop being a nigga and start being a king. You understand what I'm saying? The drugs was put here to throw us off. Like I said, people don't know that gangs originally started to keep the enemies out of their neighborhood around the time that the Black Panthers was out here, okay? People was doing stuff for their neighborhoods, not fighting, not trying to keep each other out of their neighborhoods. They was trying to keep white supremacist cops out of their neighborhoods that was doing all kind of bad things to their people. You understand what I'm saying? The drugs came. Now our minds is cloudy. We don't know what's going on no more. And we fighting over turf so we could sell these drugs to each other. Stupid as hell. Stupid as hell. But it was a survival tactic for many of us because many of us didn't have anything. Every time we lose something, they take more with it. So that's what I'm saying, because they done taught us to separate from each other. We got to stick together. We got to help one another. I can't help you if you're stuck on that dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? You want to continue to do dumb stuff, then hey, go ahead. But please keep it away from around me, you know? But I can go on and on. I mean, just one segment, but like I said, we've been dealing with this for over 100 years, just one thing, and it's got to stop. You know, a lot of the information that's been going on is still, the language is still the same, you know. And like I said, quit believing in these fake so-called black leaders. We all need to be leaders. You know, we lead our household. We lead our household and we lead ourselves into a better future. And we keep the Most High first and his son, our king. Okay, so with that being said, I just want to thank you, Abba Yahuwah, for this opportunity to bring this information to my people, your people. I want to tell your people that I love them, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this information. I wish I would have had this information when I was younger, but when I started praying to you, Father, and seeking a better way, because I just could not understand why everything I did was falling apart. You showed me through your word and your deed that you loved me. So with that being said, all praises to you and to my King, Yahushua. Thank you so much for your patience, your mercy, and grace. And to my people, I got this one more song I want to play for you. It's also from Filthy Paws. And we own records, and this is called Never Give Up. It's over 20 years old, and like I said, I want you to check this one out, and from there I'm gonna close out.
And not regarding mom's fears. It's hard out here. You better be on your guard out here. Scarred from hard and not regarding mom's fears that a baby maybe would die young and high strung in violence. The secrecy with the silence. Cause my lunch consists of steak and cake. Paste that's freshly baked. I'm trying to gain some weight and I'm just doing my thing, trying to maintain. But slinging a little cane came the easiest thing. And in vain I made my living. In Cain I made a business. In days it could make me millions. But entertainment gave me vision. Influenced by life stripes and wicked greed. Happy thirsting like how with 3 strikes for the green. A man of desperate means I'm a desperate man. It wasn't much they offered me, so I'm doing the best I can. But what I got, but even it did not seem like enough to get my family off the block. And all I'm saying is, niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. What? Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once.
I woke up early with the birds, just wanna honor my clothes. A pair of slacks and a white shirt, mind on my soul. Could've stayed in bed, it ain't like I got a J.O.B. But I'm broke as fucking stuck, he said that ain't gonna work for me. I gotta ride, but it been done died at 83. Chevy Camaro moms and pops ain't got no faith in me. It's taking me, the streets, man, I ride, smoking, drinking. Lying to the freaky hoes, looking like I'm banking. Loving lavish things got me imagining having cream. I know what I would do if I had it, I had too many dreams. Show up on the scene with the crack, make a lot of cream. Blow up on the scene with the rap, create a magazine. But I'm broke and used to having no cabbage. So when I got money, I copped a ride, bought me some fabrics. It's a habit, even nowadays I have it. When I see something I want, if I got it, I grab it.
Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. What? Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. I can't give up on this grind, cause in time, everything I want is soon to be a possession of mine. I find patience and proper planning, along with persistence and prayer. It can all be used to my advantage. If I manage to make me a way, I'll be a man that's manning his fate and take advantage of every day. Make me a life that me and my moms can be proud of. Marry me a wife that me and my kids can be fond of. I'm running out of time, cause you never promised tomorrow. And since I'm black, it's like I'm living on time that's borrowed. Why put off tomorrow what you could be doing today? Why be a follower when you could be making your way? As we speak, I made some changes today. I prayed and hit the studio and gave up the gate. It wasn't God that I put my faith. And now I'm living my dreams and use a witness, cause it's me that you just heard saying, niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. What? Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once. What? Niggas don't give up. Live good, hold your head and keep your chin up. You win some and then some, you got to give up. You did what you had to do, you only live once.
Yeah. Filthy Paws. We on records. Don't give up. We gotta continue this fight that our ancestors started. We were at war. They were at war. They was marching. You understand what I'm saying? You hear the word, term battlegrounds. You hear all kind of things about the world out here and how we fighting. Like I say, they wear camouflage. They fly flags. They are at war. They are at war. And we need to be right back at war. Fighting with these policies. Fighting with your vote. Like I said, don't let nobody tell you that your vote don't carry no weight. It carries weight. They put that in your head so you wouldn't use your vote. Just like they tell you there ain't no God, so you won't pray. Because they know if you pray with your people, man, I can't even imagine what changes are going to take place, but it ain't going to be good for the ones that's against you. So with that being said, family, I just want to say it's been a pleasure. I love y'all. I want y'all to keep y'all head up, you know, keep fighting, come together, stop all this petty stuff, all this fake stuff, deal with reality, and let's come together so we can do what's right. I want to say Shabbat Shalom, and it's your boy D from the D, and this is Touch the Topic.